How's it going, doggy people? Hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to be going over teaching an anxious dog to focus, Dog Impossible. So this is a new popular show that's been around for a little while on the National Geographic channel. I thought it was on Netflix, but I could be mistaken. That could be somebody else. But anyway, we're going to be going over this, looking at how they interact with the two dogs, what they say the dogs are thinking. Swear to me. So I'm going to be looking at the footage, seeing how the dogs are interacting and what stress signals or lack of stress signals are there. And I'm going to be talking about what I see from the dog's point of view.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so first off, you'll notice that we have a slip lead that is high behind the dog's head right there. So if you can see right there, that's where the slip lead is. So one, that already tells me about their kind of typical methods. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily anything bad. They're not bad people. I'm just saying that usually when you have a slip lead, okay, it's easy to get dogs in and out. I don't like to use slip leads. If I do, I don't like them being rounded, as you can see right here. I like them to be nice and flat and wide for the dog's throat for comfort. A lot of people use slip leads because easy on, easy off. It looks like this dog has a regular collar. It might be a martingale. I would much rather prefer to use that because you can see it's nice and wide. It's more comfortable, more surface pressure for the dog. As well as the placement of this slip lead. A lot of people will do this too as a cheat, in my opinion, because you get much more leverage over a dog by having something right behind the base of the skull that's tight and whether it's small or not. Some people have shoestring slip leads this length across your throat that dig into the throat. So this is the number one way that they're getting control over this dog. If this dog is the one that's going to be helping us with our reactive dog, then how are they going to handle the reactive dog? So that's just something that I look for.
All right, so good. Keep your focus up, Ale. Yep.
Okay, so right off the bat, they have this dog on a harness. Love it. Very, very happy about that. I don't know if that was the owner's choice. If so, kudos to you. Or if that was the trainer's option, seeing that the trainer has the other dog on a slip lead, even though they have a readily available second collar, which looks like a martingale, I can't tell, then I would say that this harness here probably is on the part of the owner. So it looks like they have maybe a double leash. They have one on the front. They have one on the back as well. So I like they're on the harness and not on the collar, because the collar can lead the dog to be more stressed going into opposition reflex. There's some debate about whether opposition reflex is real or not, but to me, it makes sense, because if you put something around something's throat and they start pulling, they're going to become more nervous. They're going to feel that they're already anxious anyway, in a state of mind. As you can see, this dog is already focused and super fixated on the other dog. When you put pressure on vital areas, such as the windpipe, try to control the head, they feel more restricted, more trapped, and they're more likely to pull and become more reactive in that situation.
Hopefully we can create some new associations and positive...
Okay, so you can see as this dog starts heading in, her head gets low, and she almost has like a stalking behavior. So that already tells me that with this dog's overall bodily disposition, you can see how tight the leash is. She's just staring and fixated. They're already working way too fast. So anytime I have a dog that is reactive to another animal, I like to have them separated, keep the dog below threshold. So this white shepherd here is already way over threshold, because this guy could probably, blow a bomb off next to her, set off a firecracker, and she wouldn't even notice. She may, but, that's kind of a good way to test the dog. If you can do this and the dog doesn't even move and stop staring what they're staring at, then that probably means that they're too stimulated and they're not going to be able to learn in this state. So if we want them to learn, then we have to keep them calm, where they're able to engage with us. They can still look at the other dog. And if they look and they look away on their own, perfect. Mark and reward. If they don't look at us right away, then we can make a clicky noise, snap our fingers, call the dog's name, whatever. And if they're able to break that view of the other dog, they're under threshold. Terrific. You start there and you build that engagement, you build that behavior, you continue reinforcing that behavior, and you slowly get closer and closer to whatever the stimulus is that they're looking at, or they're afraid of, or they're interested in.
Experiences with Ghost on a leash.
So this boxer here is also looking at this dog. I'm not saying that the boxer here is aggressive by any means, but they definitely look like they're not helping. This dog, the control dog, should be totally ignoring this other dog, because it makes it easier on the other dog. If I'm staring at you and you're already nervous, you're going to stare back, and it's going to be, you don't fight fire with fire. You want the control dog to be totally comfortable in this situation, and obviously trust the person that the dog is going to be safe, the control dog. Now we notice that she has this leash very short. It's tied around her hand like that. Let me find an example. So here's an example of how she has it tied around her wrist, like this. That is very dangerous. One, a very dangerous way to hold a leash, which I've learned through working with very powerful dogs, very strong dogs, as well as horses. That this, one, if you have to hold your dog back like this, then your control dog is not in control. That's not the dog that I would use to help this shepherd that is clearly much more out of control than the control dog, in my opinion. This dog, control dog, should be able to walk with a nice slack loop in the lead. This is very stiff rope, but just for the sake of it, versus being tight, it should be able to walk like this. And you should only have to use, very minimal pressure with it. I would say that would be a dog that would be prepared to handle another dog that's going crazy. I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad people or that this dog isn't easily controlled, but just from what I've seen in the way they hold the leash is a good indicator of how under control this dog is. And when I mean under control, I don't mean you sit when I say sit, all this nonsense. I just mean that this dog is comfortable in the environment. They can walk on a loose lead. They don't need heavy hands. They don't need pressure. They don't need someone constantly watching them. It doesn't mean control as in being a tyrannical leader. I just mean control as in you can read the dog's mind and they can read yours. You know what each other is going to do.
Getting looks.
Come on.
Come on, Ghost. She's super strong. She is strong.
Okay, so they have the I like her shirt, by the way. There are no bad dogs, absolutely, and I agree with it. So here we can see, just with her hands on the leash, that she has one finger on the loop, the handle, perfect. And she's loosened up that lead, so the dog has more slack in the lead. They're not being held under their chin or around their neck or around their collar. But she does have, a hand on the other side of the leash. So I'm glad that she has given this dog some lead. We'll see what happens from there. But I was going to comment just a second ago about how this dog has a front clip harness. Personally, I like to work with the back of the harness, so I don't have to rely on twisting the dog around. But with a very powerful dog, this makes it easier. You twist the dog around. At the same time, you wouldn't have to worry about twisting around and all this overpowering and leverage and tools if you had your dog under threshold. Because now this dog still is not learning anything. I mean, she may be, but it's going to take a lot longer for her to learn versus if you just set her up easy peasy road, make the right answer easy.
Come on, Ghost. She's super strong.
So here when she's walking away, that could have been a moment that you could have rewarded her.
Go ahead and come towards us.
So she's still very
Ghost
fixated.
is not showing extreme reactivity.
Okay, so what they're not going to show you here or tell you is he moved from the harness to her collar. This is a martingale. We're going to go ahead and play it. And
which is great. But she doesn't seem to...
What they're not telling you is that this trainer wanted him to get more control of the dog, so he puts her on a martingale. So moving from the harness, as if the front wasn't enough, then he moves her to the collar, which is much easier to get more control. Seeming like the dog is fixed, but they're not going to show you that difference. They're not going to tell you, whether it's for editing or to save time or whatever. It's important information to put out there that he had to go from the harness to the collar, which tells me, again, they're way over threshold. I will teach a dog on both of these tools, a collar, a harness, anything. But my number one test is if you can't walk them on a harness when you're training them to not be reactive, if they're pulling you and overpowering you in a harness, then you have a lot more work to do on the basics. You need to teach them, one, to walk soft. You need to help them with their anxiety. How do you do that? You keep them below threshold. You don't make them anxious. You reinforce them for being calm and being able to look at the dog from 30 feet away versus 5 feet away. And you build your way up to that, to where I know that my dog is under control if I can walk them on a loose lead on the back of a harness. If I have to rely on the front clip or a collar or, God forbid, a head halter or something worse, choke chain, prong collar, e-collar, shock collar, whatever you want to call it, then we know that we're working too quickly. So you see that he has his hand way down, like it looks like a 12-inch leash tab basically on those leashes where they have a handle at the bottom. Can be handy for certain times, for sure, I'm not going to lie. But that's there, again, holding the dog. They don't have room to think, and by doing so, you see how tight this area is. There's not a lot of room for slack, so this dog is constantly getting pressure, making her more nervous.
Stay connected to Ollie, and I want to show him how to help.
So this boxer, I don't think is a good control dog. This dog is looking at this shepherd more so than the shepherd is looking at them, or maybe just as much. But this boxer is really looking at this dog. That's not who I would have as a control dog. They may not have a lot of other options. Maybe this is the same dog that lives in the house with them. If it is, then okay. But I still would not start with these two. Then if say these two live under the same household, I would work with them separately. You're not going to work with them together like this.
Help her do that.
Oh, sorry. You're not going to, I wouldn't recommend working with them together like this at the same time. Just too much going on. They need to be worked separately and then together. But you need to prepare each dog before they work together. So when you have multiple animals, say 2 dogs, you're not working with 2, you're working with 3. Because you're working one, then the other, and then together. If you have 3 dogs, then you're working with possibly 6 because you have, each one separate. That's 3. And then these 2 together, and that's another one. And then these 2 together, and then all of them together. So you double the number of dogs you're working with when you have multiple dogs that are all reactive.
Okay. There's actually going to be a lot to praise
There's
here.
a lot
Check
of cuts.
this out. Come here, Ghost.
Okay, so again, tight. I know I paused it right away, but again, he's on the collar. He didn't explain that. They cut it, again, for whatever reason, but it's important to explain that he now it's going to seem like he's making more progress than he is because he's just holding the dog back. It's easier to hold a dog back on the collar versus a harness, which is why people go to a collar from a harness, because the harness doesn't have, it doesn't allow as much leverage or control or discomfort as a collar does. But it's better for the dog.
Good girl. Easy, easy.
So by now, we don't know how long they've been working. This dog, again, appears to be calm, but she's probably just tired. Who knows how many times everybody has water bottles, so it looks like it's hot outside. At the beginning of this, when this boxer was coming out, you noticed a bunch of water bottles by the water bowl. It's hot out here. We don't know how long they've been working.
Easy, easy. Praise what I can.
So he's saying easy as she's walking, which is great, but she's not necessarily hearing him. Again, when she's on this tight leash, she's just looking at this dog. She may not even hear anything he's saying. So this is working way too fast, again, in my opinion. They can easily get, I think he's not a bad guy, obviously. I mean, none of this is personal, but I think he could get even better results by just slowing down the process, increasing distance. Distance is your friend. And then you can certainly get these dogs to this point if both dogs are worked with. This boxer needs just as much work as this shepherd does, in my opinion.
Easy. Good girl, Ghost. Good girl,
So, okay,
Ghost.
she goes and sniffs.
Ear
Terrific.
clear. Come on,
So
Ghost.
he could have rewarded her for that. Her sniffing on the ground also could have been a reward for her, called a real-life reward. So, she may be too over threshold to take treats, too. And the reason why I like to use treats and food and whatever the dog finds most rewarding. Food is always going to be a source of reward for an animal, because without it, they would die. Now, it depends on if they're a free feeder or if they get set time, meal times, or if they get lots of treats throughout the day. But either way, you can still use food as a reinforcer. It's a primary reinforcer. But whatever the dog finds reinforcing, if they don't take that food, they don't play with the ball, they don't even notice it, then they're over threshold.
Good girl. Good girl. Come here,
Okay,
boss.
so a lot of
You're
cuts
up.
there. So again, he gives him the dog's leash there.
Lauren's
and
going to
he's
come in,
still
run the
holding
same
it
thing.
At that 1 foot, from the dog's neck to that handle. He's still holding it there. So that doesn't show me that the dog is really under control at all. What would make it impressive is if the dog could be walked, with the loose leash. And I don't expect that to happen in this episode because I'm realistic and I'm not a 5-minute trainer. And if I saw that, then I would say, okay, well, they probably gave the dog a harsh pop, or who knows how long they've been there or whatnot, but...
It's just different look, different dog,
Okay, so we're
different
coming out with
person.
a different
Oscar, I
dog.
want you to come stand down here and keep your eyes on your dad. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
Good girl.
So again, she's been working who knows how long. He still has to have her on the collar, which I think would be better off on the harness, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So, and even if she's on the collar, it's still too tight. There's still too much pressure there. That's that to me is just not really results that I would look for.
Good girl. I see.
Relax
She's
that left
just,
arm.
her tongue is flopping out to the side. She's just super tired and or overstimulated, and she's just been doing this over and over and over again, lap after lap after lap. We don't know how long they've been here.
There you go.
Awesome.
Nice.
Now,
Awesome.
I will say that, yeah, he's not using corrective collars. He's not using, he's using a martingale. I like that. He did go from the harness to the martingale, martingale, sorry. But, he's not being super aggressive or any of those methods. So I like that so far. But, my opinion is always subject to change.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, bring it on home.
All right, Ghost, come here, baby. Ghost, come on. She's good. Good girl.
In her ear.
Good girl.
Excellent. Excellent, brother. That is excellent.
Awesome.
That's
So
it.
Great.
to me, that dog just looks really tired. Now he's having to drag her kind of along, kind of keep her going. She's just tired. I don't think she's necessarily learned a lot, other than when I'm here seeing other dogs, I just go back and forth, and it's boring. Yeah. she's
Thank
just,
you,
like,
Lauren.
Exhausted.
Thanks, Doran. Thanks, Kingston.
She's just so tired to
That was
not
great.
be going on her paces.
So, what tools did you use? You used them very effectively.
We need to give her pace.
Yes.
Be in her ear.
Yep.
We're gonna look forward.
There you go.
Yep.
A whole new world is open up for her, and we're seeing it. We're witnessing it.
I'm glad. Like, I like this guy. He seems, he as he said, he loves his dog. He definitely seems like he wants to do right by her, and I, applaud him for that. This is nothing against the owner. It's nothing personal against the trainer. These are just things that I see and I point out from my point of view.
Part of it.
So that was great. That wasn't anything bad. I thought that was, very nice. Of course, beautiful dog. Very nice little session there. Just things that I see that a lot of people won't see is the change from the harness to the collar. They're also working too fast. The dog they were working with was too fixated on her. That really didn't help. So could it have been that they saw progress because they got a different dog in there? Could it be because she was too tired? Could it be because of the martingale versus being on the harness? She has more freedom to move and move her head. She's not being, held by 2 inches of leash. It could be a number of things as to why it turned out the way it did. So these are just things to look out for when you see these kind of videos and you want to try them at home. By all means, do what you want. You can follow. I always recommend using harnesses when you can, and teaching your dog through positive reinforcement. I wouldn't necessarily call this, with the whole leash and the tightness, I wouldn't necessarily call that positive reinforcement, but hey, it's far better than a lot of the stuff I've seen. So I'm typically okay with this, but I would have preferred a little more slack on the leash, working slower, but that's just me. So I hope you were able to learn something from this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, what you'd like to see next time. And until then, stay positive.